John's vision brought something special to this newsroom. He's really an editor who, in my opinion, sees forests where everyone else in the newsroom sees trees. And I think it's that curiosity, that affinity for really good reporting and good writing that makes John special. That it's a real gift to see the potential for a big story in something that to most of us would just be a nugget.
The shipbreaking story started when we decided to take a look at how it operated in the United States. And Will England, my partner in the story, had just written a story describing the bungled scrapping of the USS Carroll in Baltimore's harbor. And John was really excited about this story and said, we really ought to pursue this shipbreaking industry and take a look at it wherever it operates. Workers are being injured or killed, exposed to asbestos. This industry was in total chaos.
Reading by 9 was an effort begun by the Baltimore Sun in 1997 to boost reading scores among children in Maryland, mostly children under the age of 9. We got into classrooms and watched how they taught reading in Maryland. And I mean, there's probably been 300 stories printed about this topic. There aren't too many people who don't know about this, who aren't aware of it, who aren't saying, yeah, you know, we appreciate the fact that you're highlighting this, and we are trying to do better.
In the world of journalism, the Sun's stories have started to spark attention. 2 years ago, Lisa Pollock's stories about the sons of umpire John Hirschbeck won a Pulitzer Prize for feature reporting. And a year ago, stories about shipbreaking won the Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting. When your peers recognize your work as being up there where the air is rare, that's having an impact. John's vision makes people stretch, and to think there's one good example that the story about A Stage in Our Lives, a school play staged in Annapolis.
It's a story of a group of high school kids putting on their school musical, the spring musical. Let's go tell what it's like. Let's go tell what kids are thinking and talking about and the pressures on them today. That's really was our hope. Most editors were not going to give you 3 months to go do a story like that or a series like that. A high school musical, you know, you can do that in 20 inches. But here you get a chance to do something a little bit different.
We are here to buy a slave. Before us, waiting abjectly on the baking barren ground, is a sight to chill the human heart. A dozen young boys, their bodies caked with dust, their eyes downcast. We wanted a story that would put readers right in the southern part of Sudan, where all the misery and where all the slave trading and all the suffering is. To our people who would still enslave their fellow man because they feel that, you know, they have the right as superiors to do it.
We've decided that we would actually send 2 reporters to the Sudan with $20,000 to see if they could purchase slaves and return them to their families. That's a huge risk, but the reward to the readers is even higher.
John sees kind of what he's after, knows exactly, frankly, what he's after, and is able to inspire people to get the kind of journalism that he would really like the Sun to excel at on a consistent basis. He's particularly good at identifying and hiring terrific young talent, and the Sun has many young, wonderful journalists on it. First-rate work being published on a consistent basis can be very inspiring to people, knowing that if they might get, probably will get the opportunity to do that kind of journalism.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Carroll.
As Gene Roberts mentioned, my father, Wallace Carroll, now in his 90s, worked for many years at the Winston-Salem Journal and Sentinel, first as editor and later as publisher. In between those jobs, he spent 8 years here in Washington with the New York Times, working with James Reston, Ned Kenworthy, Russell Baker, and others who practiced their craft with passion and high spirits. During that period, I was a paper boy for the Washington Post. I wasn't much of a reader back then. I was in it for the money, actually. But I often started my day with the Herblock cartoon. So from an early age, I witnessed journalism as a daily adventure, not just something to be trudged through on the way to a gold watch. That belief was reinforced in the 1970s when I became an apprentice editor under Gene Roberts, trying to drag the Philadelphia Inquirer into respectability. Unlike many papers then, the Inquirer did actually have an investigative reporter. Unfortunately, he was in the state penitentiary serving time for extortion. Gene taught me, among other things, that it's a lot more satisfying to fix and to build a newspaper than merely to maintain one. From such inspirations, I couldn't help but develop notions about what's important in this business and what is ephemeral. And in the 1990s, it seems to me, a keen sense of the ephemeral is an editor's best friend. If you were to visit the Baltimore Sun today, you might be surprised as much by what we're not doing as by what we do. We have, for example, no self-improvement programs. You won't find re-engineering, quality circles, News 2000. You won't encounter editors brandishing MBAs, nor will you hear journalists being exhorted to get out of their silos. No one is being put through months and months of meetings, leading eventually to the formation of teams. And nobody believes that the way to compete with television is to become more like television. On your visit to the Sun, you might also notice an absence of hand-wringing about television and the Internet. Our staff knows that a newspaper can have far more influence in a community than all its electronic competitors combined, and that only a newspaper can seriously aspire to be the conscience and the goad of a city or of a state. In short, we see more opportunities than threats, and we're not wasting our time pining for days of yore or casting about for gimmicks. Today, if you read the regional and local press, those papers that actually reach most Americans, you'll sense something missing. That missing ingredient is faith, a widespread confidence that what we do matters. Today's journalists are constantly being reminded that they are functionaries of business, yet they know in their hearts that the stock price is a hollow god. They believe, perhaps quixotically under some publishers, that they work for the entire community, not just the stockholders. They sense that newspaper work can and should be a wonderfully satisfying and entertaining way to engage the world, and that in a free society there is no mightier sword than the written word. This is the legacy of the Wally Carrolls, the Ned Kenworthys, the Scotty Restons. The sword is still there. The question is whether we are willing to wield it. Tonight, many kind words have been said about the Baltimore Sun, and for that you have our gratitude. Many of the people who actually did the work, including our managing editor, Bill Marimo, are here tonight, as are close family and friends, among them my best friend and wife, Lee. So, we at the Sun intend to prove our newspaper worthy of this award now and in the future. Thank you so much.